Welcome everyone to today's webinar, 9 Game-Changing Marketing Strategies to Grow Your Practice Now and in a Post-COVID Future, sponsored by NextHealth. I am Brian Zimmerman from Becker's Hospital Review. We'll begin today's webinar with a presentation, and we'll have time at the end of the hour for a question and answer session. You can submit any questions you have throughout the webinar by typing them into the Q&A box you see on your screen. We look forward to hearing your questions. Today's session is being recorded and will be available after the event. You can use the same link you used to log into today's webinar to access the recording. And it's now my pleasure to introduce today's presenters. John Vakidis, Sales Director, Dr. Logic, and Shoshana Luria, Content Marketing Manager, NextHealth. John, why don't you start us off here?
All right, thank you so much. Hi everybody, my name is John Vakidis, Sales Director here at Dr. Logic. I've been with our company for about 5.5 years and consulted north of 700 practices with their digital marketing. So we're going to take some of those best practices and put it into use, and also bring in some information related to a post-COVID world and marketing in today's climate. So 4 ways to grow your practice even faster in a post-COVID world. We're going to touch on these 4 aspects today: how to rank higher on Google for the most profitable keywords, how to create the best fresh quality content to win on Google, how to build trust in 15 seconds on your website for more leads, and how to use virtual consults to grow and expand your market. So when it comes to getting found online, you want to make sure that you're targeting quality keywords that are in high demand for consumer type searches that are going to actually convert in new patients. With that comes a lot of research from your marketing provider, looking at the volume of Google searches, talking to you about your favorite procedures that you want to market more of and get more patients for, and then having a robust content strategy to do that. So we're going to tell a little story here about 2 Texas cosmetic dentists, only about a mile apart, but 100 miles apart online. Now, since this presentation was built, we actually acquired the second dentist that was not our customer, so now both of these are customers. So I'll preface with that, but I'll tell the story of what happened prior to that journey. So both websites look great, but let's look at Google to see which one actually performs better. Dr. Dixon receives about 6,400 monthly visitors, but only about $258 in free SEO traffic per month. There's tools out there that allow marketers to research the quality of the keywords, what those keywords are worth in a paid search campaign, and it's able to give an SEO value to the traffic that you're receiving. That was his value. Lots of traffic, but not the right kind of keywords, and that's why the value was so low. 90% of his SEO traffic was coming from what we called a useless blog, because when we asked him about it, he's like, yeah, that's not even what I want more patients for. So he was getting lots of traffic for the wrong type of leads. And so he was able to go back to his team prior to hiring us, tell them to start making some changes. That did not lead to a good conversation, so he ended up hiring us as an agency. Dr. BOSHER has been our client for several years, and you can see it tells a very different story. Not only is he getting more monthly visitors, but the value of his SEO is worth about $22,000 a month. That's not what he's paying for SEO and search engine optimization. That's the value of those keywords if you were to target that with paid search. So he's getting found more often. He's getting more traffic for high quality keywords. 90% of his traffic is valuable, ranking on page 1 and top of page 1 for a variety of search terms, hundreds of keyword patterns related to like veneers and dental implants, his cosmetic patients. And Dr. BOSHER decided to expand his practice due to the growth and hired another dentist so that he could create an annuity for his business. He was kind of at crossroads of, what do I do? He was getting so much traffic, he had to make a decision. Does he turn down leads, or did he bring somebody on? So he decided to bring on a dentist, and he's growing quite rapidly still. So how to create the best fresh quality content to win on Google. Let's talk through this. The website with the freshest quality SEO content usually wins on Google. We'll use 2 examples not related to healthcare first to kind of tell that story. If you think about Amazon.com, dominant website in the marketplace when it comes to buying products online. They have 300 million pages of indexed content on Google. And so if you do a search for just about any type of product, they typically rank really well on page 1. Zillow is another example. They have 30 million pages of fresh quality content, but there's not that many real estate listings in any given period of time, but they have a lot of content to address different keyword patterns. That's why they dominate in real estate. Dr. Logic, prior to being in the healthcare space, we used to power websites for about 1/6 of the automotive industry, sold that technology to AutoTrader, and then that is powering a website that's got about 10 million pages. That's what we've developed, and now we're applying it in healthcare, helping doctors grow from a few hundred pages indexed to thousands. And this is what's helping them win. So an average dental website has about 150 pages indexed on Google. So guess which website's going to do better? The website that has 150 pages that are old and unchanging, or a website that has 2, 3, 4 times more content that's pushing it out on a regular basis? You guessed it, it's the second one. So if you want to do a test for yourself to see how many pages of content your site has, put the URL in Google Chrome and then go to the very front of that URL and type in SITE:, and you can do what they call a site index. Now this number will fluctuate from time to time on Google. Google changes their algorithm a lot, but you can see if you have 100 pages, 200 pages, 1,000 pages, and if your site is performing really well in your market, I would imagine you have a lot of content. This is a great way to see from a quantity standpoint, do you have enough content to even rank well? So you want to budget your content creation across a mix of social, reviews, blogs, galleries, and services. So with social, we have about 3,000 healthcare providers on our platform. We're able to see all the analytics countrywide, and what we typically see from social that does well is people that are posting at least 3 or more times a week on both Facebook and Instagram. From a review standpoint, we found that if you leverage reviews across the web from multiple review sources and then put those reviews inside the website, not only can it help with SEO, but it drastically helps improve conversions by as much as 25% or higher. Blogs, a couple times a month makes a big difference. Some people have a handful of blogs on their site, or they're 3 years old, they had a strategy, but they stopped. You want to make sure you're adding at least 2 or more blogs per month consistently, and you're targeting your top services that you want to get found for. Your galleries can also help you with SEO when done correctly. Not so much the pictures themselves, but the descriptions of the cases. A detailed before and after smile gallery that tells a story about why a patient came in, what they had performed, by whom in your practice, which technologies were used, kind of tell that story about that, and then also describe the outcome, problem, solution, outcome in your gallery cases. And then your services. Your services are what we like to refer to as anchors, and then other pages of content within your site like galleries and reviews and blogs and videos can link to those service pages. So how do you build trust in 15 seconds on your website to acquire more leads? Well, we'll talk about that. Google calls that the 0 moment of truth. The first 15 seconds on your site is going to determine if somebody spends time diving into more pages, or maybe they're going to bounce and go back to Google. And Google does watch that, and that will impact you organically in your rankings. If you're having high engagement where people come in and then they continue to go on more pages and spend more time on site, that's really good for you from an SEO standpoint, of course, from a conversion standpoint. But if you have a lot of people that are coming in, they don't really like what they see, the design's outdated, the content doesn't describe the story well, and they bounce back, Google looks at that, and then Google will start to shove you down in rankings if people are not engaging on your site. So the fastest way to build trust is to have 50 or more 5-star reviews on your site. Once again, don't just pull in reviews from one source, pull them in from multiple sources, Google, Facebook, Vitals, Health Grades, the list goes on. And we found that you'll have a 77% higher website conversion rate when you have 50 or more positive reviews on the site. So quantity does help. The best way to build trust is to showcase your talent with at least 50 photo galleries. We find sites that do this and tell the stories with those photos, not just have the photos themselves, have 3 times better SEO results. So it's the quickest way to rank higher on Google for your high-value keywords as well when you're using those case descriptions. Every single smile gallery you post for a patient you've treated can turn into like a mini blog. And when you go from 1 to 50 to hundreds of galleries on your site with stories behind them describing the dental cases that you performed, it can have a tremendous impact on your SEO. So the modern way to build trust is to use social media to validate your popularity. 84% of consumers prefer to buy from someone they follow versus someone they don't. So make sure that if you're going to do social media and you want to give people a reason to stay as a follower, that you're posting a couple times a week and you're adding value to the conversation. A good rule is the 80-20 rule. 80% add value, 20% you can be a little bit more salesy and promotional. So how to use virtual consults to grow and expand your market. We have seen a huge impact with COVID on the healthcare community. And we've seen some doctors that have adapted to virtual consultations very rapidly that already had strong marketing programs in place, been able to actually thrive by leveraging virtual consults. Now, in dental, the jury's still out. There's a lot of mixed conversation on whether it's good or not. But we've heard some good stories from doctors that are using it just to build trust, get people to come in so they can, have a more thorough exam. But it does create a time saver for you at your practice. You can have a 22% increase in time saved per month for each provider that's actively using virtual patient consultations. So if you want to see a few more patients as initial starts, consider virtual consults. And in survey after survey, new patients are saying they prefer virtual consults because they feel safe, fast, and convenient. We talked to some soccer moms recently in a conversation, and they were saying they love it because, with what's going on with COVID, some of their kids are still learning at home during the week, and trying to take them away from that learning environment into a doctor's office for the mom's visit, it throws a wrench in everything. But when they can do it virtually, they don't have to spend the time in the car going there or coming back, and they can still have their household running while they're doing a virtual consult with you. So virtual consultations are definitely worth considering. There's some clever ways to use it, even in dentistry. Now, high growth practices are using virtual consults to expand their market area. When you combine paid advertising with Google paid ads, you can combine virtual consults with that, with the mention of that in your ads, you can target a larger radius, especially for your cosmetic procedures. We're finding that people shopping for a cosmetic procedure, spending tens of thousands of dollars on their teeth, whether it's, veneers or implants or a smile makeover, they're more willing to drive across town if they first build trust with you. So if your ads are targeting in an area where your website is not ranking, it's a little harder to rank in another area where you're not physically located. With a paid ad, you can target outside of that and acquire some patients in an area where you might not normally do that. So we're getting lots of calls about it, and definitely a booming part of the practices that we serve. At that point, my portion is over. I'm going to hand it over to Shoshana for here.
Thanks, John. So let's talk a little bit about the state of healthcare marketing. What does healthcare marketing look like right now, and where are practitioners struggling the most? What we're finding is that most practices simply don't know what's working for them and what's not. That's why we're focusing a lot of our time today on how to measure the ROI, or return on investment, of your marketing activity, because as the saying goes, you can't improve what you don't measure. We recognize that pinpointing exactly what marketing strategies are working and why is a huge challenge, and so many practices don't have the tools or the skills in-house to examine their data and figure out where to invest their time or money. So we're going to remove some of the intimidation and show you how simple it can be to measure your practice's marketing performance. We'll discuss how you can use website and Facebook tracking pixels to capture more online attention, and encourage people to book an appointment. So many practices aren't taking advantage of these tools, and even though they're very easy to use, so if you do, you'll be able to gain a competitive advantage. We've also found that website design and the actual experience of interacting with a practice online are huge areas of improvement for many practices. And in fact, digital-first brands in sectors like telemedicine and health tech see content as a competitive advantage. All right, so let's get into tracking pixels, what they are and how you can use them to grow your audience online and encourage people to book an appointment. The Facebook pixel is a snippet of code that you place on your website to collect data about who lands on your site from Facebook. The code tracks all the clicks and conversions from your Facebook and Instagram ads, which are important because it lets you do three main things. It tells you which ads are working and which ones aren't so that you can improve them. It lets you build audiences for Facebook ads based on the characteristics of the people who are actually clicking on them. And it also lets you retarget people who have taken some action on your site but haven't booked an appointment. A website tracking pixel is similar, but it's more broad and tracks a few different things. You can use this code to track other marketing events like website traffic from email campaigns or the performance of any Google ads, and even conversions to an appointment from other sources like referral campaigns. These are important because tracking pixels give you the most accurate real-time view of what your website visitors are actually doing on your site, and then you can use this information to target people who are warmer, meaning that they already know who you are and are more likely to book an appointment. Sending those people ads becomes a much more fruitful investment than spending money serving ads to people who have no idea who you are. Pixels also tell you where your website traffic is coming from, the device people are using when they're on your site, and whether or not they're coming from a paid marketing effort. And this is how you're able to calculate your cost of acquisition per patient and per patient lead. You can set up website pixels very easily with NextHealth. NextHealth just appends your unique tracking pixel within the platform so you can start collecting data instantly and view it through the dashboard. And to help you get set up with this, we'll send a detailed resource to you along with the webinar recording after the talk is over. Another really cool way to track user behavior on your site is through heat maps. Heat maps are a graphic representation of where certain types of behavior are happening on your site. They really help you get into the weeds and understand what users are doing when they land on your pages. A few examples of what heat maps can show you are how far people scroll down your pages, where people click or try to click, and what people look at or even ignore. These are important because they tell you which web pages people engage with the most, right down to mouse movements and all the steps people take to book an appointment. Through a tool called Hotjar, you can actually watch session recordings of how users navigate your site from start to finish and where they struggle to complete certain actions. This is important because once you know how people are actually using your website in real life, you can make revisions to make it even more user-friendly and geared towards encouraging people to book an appointment. Again, you can gather all of this information with NextHealth. Our Google Tag Manager integration lets you easily use tools like Hotjar all within our platform, but this will also be detailed in the resource we send to you along with the recording. Let's talk about patient messaging. This is a really important part of marketing because it improves the overall patient experience at your practice, which helps with retention and acquisition. A study by 99 firms confirmed that 75% of people wouldn't mind receiving an SMS text from a brand if they opt in for the service, which applies to your practice in a few ways. When a patient books online, they've opted in, meaning they're now open to receiving text from your practice. And you can use this as an opportunity to communicate with your patients for three main reasons. One is to remind them about their appointment and reduce the amount of cancellations and no-shows. Secondly, to send them follow-up emails and texts after their appointment is over. These messages really improve the patient experience because you're sending them information about treatment, at-home care, and preventative health immediately after their appointment in a way that they can reference later. You can also send recall messages that remind patients they're due for their next appointment with a direct link in the email or text to your online booking system. This makes it super simple for people to book their next appointment. Essentially, automated messaging is an easy way to get patients to come back to your practice and show them you care about making healthcare convenient for them. All right, let's get into online reviews, which to John's point is incredibly important. It's arguably the most important part of the decision-making process when someone is considering your practice. Because even after all of the advancement in digital marketing, one thing is still true, and that's that word of mouth is king. And there are a few things you can do to stimulate word of mouth by just reminding your patients in the right way to leave an online review. You only need two things to ask for online reviews. One is a patient messaging system and a mechanism that makes it easy for a patient to leave a review right after their appointment. The timing is super critical here because you want to catch them when you're practice and the experience is still fresh in their mind. So don't be afraid to send your patients a text after they leave your office, right after they've had a good experience. A simple reminder that a review is appreciated is often enough to get the job done. And NextHealth allows you to automatically send online review requests after appointments, and it even connects NextHealth to your Google business listing, so your online reviews are displayed right away. Okay, let's move on to online booking and what that can do for your practice's online presence and patient acquisition efforts. So we know that patients can find you through Google or social media. They can read all the glowing reviews about your practice, and then they can make the decision to book an appointment. But then what happens sometimes is that they stop the whole process because they can't book online. If they have to stop what they're doing to make a phone call, sometimes they'll abandon the process altogether, especially if they are trying to book an appointment after hours. This is what we call friction, and it happens when a simple task isn't as easy as it should be. And this is when people sometimes drop off and move on to something else. So you can think of online booking as a part of marketing because it's that last step in getting patients to actually choose you and book an appointment. You're going to want to offer online booking on your website, Google, through social media. Basically, you want to make it really easy for patients to book appointments from online platforms where they're already spending a lot of their time. And sometimes that's what marketing is. It's just about making access to your practice as easy and as convenient as possible. Finally, we'll talk about something you'll really want to consider if you want to stand out, and that's social media marketing. Again, to echo John's point, it's a very critical part of healthcare marketing. And in healthcare marketing, especially now, credibility wins. A great example of this is Dr. Joshua Woolrich, a British doctor who gained thousands of followers during the pandemic by debunking healthcare myths. We're living in an age where the fight against misinformation is real, so healthcare professionals who are performing public service by debunking myths with evidence-based science are needed now more than ever. And if you want to start putting out more content on social, you can start with simple videos on YouTube or Instagram, and they don't need to be high production quality. They just need to be engaging and offer people valuable information that they can use to make their lives a little bit better. When you record a video, you can also adapt a lot of that content for other channels like your blog, your Twitter, LinkedIn, or Facebook. We recommend when you're starting out to choose a channel that you're most comfortable with. Start putting out some content and then monitor that content's performance. So make sure that you're tracking likes, shares, etc. When you have a solid grasp of the type of content that's performing well for you, you can build on that for other channels. You could even turn content into ads that drive people to your website and encourage them to read a blog post or book an appointment. Organic thought leadership content on social media is a long game, but once you've established yourself as an authority in your field, you'll be top of mind when someone who follows you is looking for a new dentist. This is where the importance of Facebook and website tracking pixels really come into play. If you're putting in the effort to create valuable content, you should go the extra mile to monitor how your audience is interacting with it. All right, so we can move on to questions. If you haven't already, feel free to drop a question in the Q&A box on your screen.
Absolutely. Thank you, John and Shoshana, for that fantastic presentation. Now we will begin today's question and answer session. So as Shoshana mentioned, please submit any questions you have by typing them into the Q&A box you see on your screen, and we'll get through as many as we can. The first one I'll open up is this attendee asked, how long should a blog article be?
Yeah, okay, I'll take that one. Quantity of words does matter, but the quality is really important. We've seen pretty effective blogs range from about 400 to 800 words. You don't have to have a 2,000 word, book on there, but 400 to 800 words, and then linking that blog to relevant pages within the site will also help Google understand the blog and the overall content of the site. Great question.
Thank you, John. Appreciate you tackling that one. And the next question then is, how often should we post new content? The attendee asks.
I could take that one. To John's point, consistency is really most important here. So it depends on the resources available to you, but putting out fresh quality content on a consistent cadence is really important to help with your Google rankings. So definitely twice a month at a minimum. If you can support it, I would say once a week would be a great goal as well.
Yeah, I would agree with that.
Excellent. Well, appreciate you tackling both of those questions. Do you have any final thoughts to share with attendees? Anything else you'd like to add today?
I think she said it, from a search engine optimization standpoint, it's a long game. If you're looking for leads immediately and you're starting a new practice, consider paid advertising on social, paid advertising on Google. There's a couple strategies that can help you acquire patients either through demographics or keywords. And those definitely work a little bit faster than SEO. But, consistency and discipline wins when it comes to SEO. You start planting a seed today, you start watering it, that tree grows over time. Content is an appreciating asset for your site, so always make sure you own the content of your website. It's not owned by the web vendor. If you're paying them the right content, make sure that you have the ownership rights to it if you ever decide to leave. But just consistency and discipline, and make sure you have a solid strategy and you're being realistic with your budget and you're spending it on the right things.
Excellent. Thank you, John. Shoshana, anything to add there before we close out?
Yeah, I would echo what John says. It's definitely a long game, but I think social is a great way to start, and there's a ton of doctors creating a lot of really engaging content and seeing some awesome results. So I think it doesn't have to be a huge time commitment. You can start with simple and short videos and go from there.
Excellent. Well, thank you both so much for sharing those insights with our attendees today. So Shoshana, John, it's been excellent. NextHealth, thank you for sponsoring today's webinar. And everyone, enjoy the rest of your day, and we look forward to having you join us for future webinars.